know what they call a fire-breathing, gospel-preaching, six-day creationist who studied at Oxford? An idiot. They come to you and they say, you must bear false witness. Look at that man and call him a woman. Neutrality is not an option. We're marginalized in our day as well, aren't we? We're those people. You can be as educated as you want. It doesn't matter. You will still be marginalized if they recognize you as having been with Jesus. If they recognize you as a Christ follower, you are marginalized. It doesn't matter. During the introduction, when he said, there's a lot of degrees from a lot of places, and he pointed out just one place. And the one place he pointed out was the University of Oxford in England. Yes, I studied there. But you know what they call a fire-breathing, gospel-preaching, six-day creationist who studied at Oxford? An idiot. You're marginalized because you might have an education, but it's not the right education unless you're operating from the accepted worldview. One of the ways that they marginalize us is they continually march out people who name the name of Christ, but believe little and practice less. They love to march these people out. If you are part of an organization that names the name of Christ, I'm thinking about, for example, Jim Wallace and Sojourners, the Reverend Jim Wallace and Sojourners. They have no problem with you. And they love to bring people like that out into the public eye so that they can say, look, here are some Christians who are not wide-eyed idiots. Here are some Christians whose worldview is aligned with ours. Here are some Christians who are Marxists. Here are some Christians who support abortion, who support same-sex marriage, here they are right here. These other people out there are the narrow-minded bigots. And so we're marginalized. Particularly in our day, we're marginalized if we don't toe the line on some very specific issues. One of those I've already alluded to is creation and evolution. If you believe that there's a God who created the world, you're marginalized. Again, that's one of the reasons that I love to come here. But by the way, that's also the reason that a lot of people won't come here. There are a lot of folks, a lot of ministers, a lot of gospel ministers who do not want their picture taken in front of this logo because we believe that the intelligentsia, right, will not accept us, will not receive us if they perceive that we are those uneducated common men who believe that God created the world and that he created the world the way the book of Genesis says he created the world. That's a problem. Beyond that, there are some other issues that get us marginalized. If you don't, for example, agree with Obergefell, this 2015 decision that says that marriage is not only between a man and a woman, but can be between two men or can be between two women. If you have a problem with that, you are an uneducated common man. If you have a problem with the idea that a biological male can just stand up and declare that he's a female and that you should then have to refer to them as a female, then you are an uneducated common man. If you have a problem with pumping young children full of hormones because they're confused, then you are uneducated common man. and so on and so forth. And so we're marginalized. It doesn't matter how intelligent we are. It doesn't matter how educated we are. We're marginalized. And so many Christians are under the deluded impression that if we just keep our head down, if we just go to church, if we just practice our faith in our home, if we just do that they'll leave us alone. But they won't. They won't. I don't know if you've been watching lately, but it's not enough for you to just refuse to be hostile. It is now demanded that you bend the knee and confess Caesar is Lord. You can't be neutral. Try to be neutral if you want to. We're just going to be neutral. We're just going to go about our life. Yep. And then your daughter lines up in the track meet and there's a boy racing her. What do? Do you sit there, take the loss, clap when the trophy is given to the biological male? What do you do? What do you do when you go to work and then they have this new policy at your work where you put your pronouns on everything and you say, no, I'm not going to play the game. I'm just not going to put the pronouns on there. And they say, no, it's a policy. Put your pronouns on there. Fine, I'll put my pronouns on there, but my pronouns are the pronouns that God gave me. Good for you, because that's just step one. You've put your pronouns, everybody else has put their pronouns, and then this is what happens. They come to you and they say, you must bear false witness. Look at that man and call him a woman. Neutrality is not an option. Go get your PhD. Go be the best student ever, anywhere. Go try to write a grant proposal. Try to be a scientist, a biologist, a chemistry, anybody. Just try today to go and do that and sidestep all the minds, all of them, that say your work must be based on the assumption that there is no God, that the world was not created, and that it's billions and billions and billions of years old. Neutrality is not an option. Try as you might. And it always boggles my mind, right? You can have one person who says the world is 30 billion years old. Great. You get a prize. And another person who comes and says, no, actually, the world is more than 60 billion years old. No problem. You get a prize too. I come and I say the world is actually several thousand years old. And they say, you're an idiot. Why? Why? The distance between the 60 billion year guy and the 30 billion year guy is 30 billion years. The distance between the 30 billion guy and me is less than 30 billion years. How come both of them get to be okay, but I don't? Neutrality is not an option, folks. When our children go to schools that pump this stuff into them, neutrality is not an option. In your family, some of you have experienced this. In your own family, neutrality is not an option. All the recent stir about, do you go to the gay wedding? Do you not go to the gay wedding? All of this recent stir. Why? Why are Christians wanting their pastors and leaders to help them think through this? I'll tell you why. Because when the family or the extended family comes to you and says, Johnny's marrying another man, they know that you're a Christian. They're just double dog daring you to say that there's something wrong with it and you're not going. Neutrality is not an option. It's not. By the way, why is neutrality not an option? I'm glad you asked. Because these worldviews are rooted and grounded in atheism. They're rooted and grounded in the idea that there is no God. And because there is no God, we are accountable to no one, to nothing except ourselves. That's why we use phrases like my truth. We're accountable to no one. If there is a God, all of these worldviews fall. So you cannot go around proclaiming your worldview that is rooted and grounded in the existence of the one true and living God, the God who was and who is to come, without there being this clash. So neutrality is not an option. I'm sorry. If you thought you could get out of this unscathed, I'm here to tell you tonight, you cannot and you will not. Why? Look at verse 17. Here's the crux of the matter. But in order that it may spread no further among the people, let us warn them to speak no more to anyone in this name. So they called them and charged them not to speak or teach at all in the name of Jesus. I want you to note what they didn't say. They didn't say, stop healing people. Did you catch that? You can go heal all the people you want. Just don't use that name. That name is the problem. Valedictorian. Because you had the highest GPA in your class, you get to make a speech. Wow, that's awesome. Can I quote Buddha? You most assuredly can. People will think you're spiritual. Can I quote Confucius? Please do. They'll think you're super intelligent. Can I quote Jesus? Oh, separation of church and state. Anybody, anything. You can quote anybody, just don't use that name. That's what they have a problem with. Newsom, heterosexual, married, Irish Catholic, and a political centrist, except when it came to social issues, had made the decision to act after having been in office only 12 days. He'd heard President George W. Bush say in his State of the Union address on January 20th that he wanted to amend the U.S. Constitution to protect marriage. The 37-year-old mayor was disgusted and outraged. He had his chief of staff call Kate Kendall, executive director of the San Francisco-based National Center for Lesbian Rights. Tell me, who should be the first same-sex couple to get a marriage license? Not only did Newsom issue the licenses, but he actually presided over the first weddings. Did you catch the fact, though, that the author highlighted that Newsom was heterosexual, married, and Irish Catholic? You see, she has absolutely no problem with religion. None. None. These people weren't saying, no. Gavin Newsom, he goes to church. Gavin Newsom, he has faith. Gavin Newsom, no, it's bad. You cannot have those people doing things like that. They're fine with it. Why? Because Gavin Newsom doesn't preach that name. It's the name that's the problem. He doesn't believe in the Jesus of the Bible. So it's fine. Just don't preach in that name. You can do it, by the way, if you abuse the name and misuse the name. Gavin Newsom was in the mail again. Now he's the governor of California. Not long ago, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, Gavin Newsom in the state of California put billboards up in a number of states. Put billboards up in Texas and other places, basically saying, your state outlaws abortion, come to California. And then he quotes the words of Jesus. Love your neighbor as yourself. In other words, Gavin Newsom was saying that he was making his political decisions based upon his religious convictions. Now, if somebody who believes the Bible does that, all we hear is dangerous Christian nationalism. But if a leftist who does not believe in the Jesus of the Bible or does not preach the Jesus of the Bible does it, it's just fine, because the problem is that name. As the song says, there's just something about that name. And here's why. Confucius and Buddha and Gandhi and the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and everyone else, you can just go and grab their teaching and take what you want and leave what you don't want. And you can just do all of these things, and you can bring that before people and hold yourself up as this wonderful spiritual person. And it means absolutely nothing. But when we talk about Jesus, he is the one who says, I am the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. That's a problem. The fact that he is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, that is a problem. Because if Buddha is who they say he is, if Confucius is who they say he is, that means absolutely nothing. But if Jesus is who he says he is, it changes everything. We must bow the knee to him, not just pick and choose phrases that he spoke when they suit us. So don't use that name. That's what we're being told.